Hello, everybody. All right, today we are looking at a neuroscientist equivocates and conflates the concepts of perception, cognition, concepts, and reality. So we will take it as it comes, and let's jump right on into it.
So we're all living inside of our own perception box.
We are all living in reality. That's where we're living. Yes, we perceive, and it is the individual that has a mind that is conscious and perceives, but it doesn't mean that this box, this perception, this first person influence is creating reality. We are all living in reality, and we are all perceiving the same reality.
It's dark in there. It doesn't actually see or hear anything. It's just
Interesting. It doesn't see or hear anything. So we are blind for having vision, and we are deaf for having ears and hearing. Interesting. So already we're starting off. If we can't see or hear anything, then what are you looking at and listening to right now? It's clearly false.
just a series of signals. And each brain, you can think of it like a thumbprint. Physically speaking, each brain is unique, is slightly different, and it's shaped throughout our lives based on our experiences.
Okay, so this is materialism. So it's like, yeah, if you just look at the material, this is it. And that's all it is. The idea of materialism is essentially mystical because it discounts the power of ideas, of conceptions. The world cannot be explained just by looking at the material. They can look at a brain as long as they want under a microscope and MRIs and whatever else they want, and they will only see material. That doesn't mean that ideas don't exist. It's a fundamental fallacy.
Our perceptions are basically formed from a combination of what we expect. So that's coming internally from our past experiences.
No, so she is. Our perceptions are what we are direct information to reality, right? All conscious beings have perception, meaning they get it's the sensations, our senses. We don't understand senses until later when we have conceptualized senses, but perception is direct perception of reality. It is direct information gained from reality. So she is conflating this with our psychology. Psychology is sort of the study of our subconscious. And these things are based on assumptions and previous experience and expectations because our memory and things and our ideas and our feelings. This is all psychology. This is not perception per se. Let's go on.
And then what's coming into our brain externally. And when those two things meet, it creates this perception, which is what we actually experience.
So what she's saying is we have perception, the things coming into our brain, and the things that are already in our brain, our psychology. But she doesn't use the word psychology. She calls it all perception. Essentially that our perception is creating our reality. But no, it is experiencing reality, and we are interpreting it using our reason, and our psychology definitely has a big part to do with how we understand how the world works, but it does not have anything to do with creating reality.
But everyone's perception is unique. And we can never know what it would feel like to be you, for example. Only you.
So yeah, every individual is unique. You don't know, I guess, exactly what I feel like, but since we are all humans, we understand in general what it's like to be human. And just because I can't know exactly what it's like to be you doesn't mean that I can't relate to your experience. And it also definitely doesn't mean that because there are differences that our realities are different. We live in the same reality. Our psychologies might be very different, but that is all.
You know your own first person subjective experience. I can never know it. And although we might have similarities, there's also these differences that create our own box that we perceive the world through.
So there are differences, and they create our psychology, like I've been saying, our own box, sort of prison, you might say. And this is basically how I interpret it: that we're all living in our own prison, and you should just understand that other people's prisons are different, and accept it. No, we're not living in a prison. Yes, we have only our perception, but we can reason. That is universal. We can reason and know that we are, perceiving trees. For instance, if we're both in a car, you and I, we both can absolutely agree on whether there's a car coming and it's safe to go or not. There is no debate about is there a car or not. Of course, it could be a hard turn to see, but let's imagine that you see the whole road and you see the whole road being empty. There's no way somebody's like, wait, there's a car coming. No, it's clear. Or there's a bunch of cars coming and it's like, go, it's clear. No, our perceptions are valid and they objectively correspond to reality. They get us direct information about reality. There's no prison here.
I've always been fascinated about the relationship between the physical brain and the mind.
The physical brain and the mind. Okay. This is interesting. This is basically asking, where does consciousness come from? Sure. It's an interesting question. There is no answer yet.
My big question was trying to understand the neural basis of our conscious perception. So everything we experience from the moment we wake up to when we go back into a deep, dreamless sleep, how does the brain create these subjective experiences that we have, our feelings, our thoughts, emotions?
Okay. How does the brain create these things? I mean, this is a little bit imprecise language. I'm going to leave it go for now, but I think that it's going to pop up some conflation and equivocation here soon.
Our minds are shaped by our prior experience. So as these neurons...
That is true. I mean, that is everything. Experience, it's, but what do we experience? We experience reality. We don't just experience our mind.
And start forming connections. And as you go through life and have experiences, it's a pruning process. So it's actually strengthening the important connections and allowing the other unimportant connections to kind of wither away. And
that's an interesting way, important and unimportant. But yeah, I'm not sure about that. I know that babies have a lot more neural endings and a lot less connections. And we sort of get more hardwired as we make sense of the world, because we are not born with any innate ideas. So we're born with just our capacity for perception, and we perceive the real world. And then as we perceive things, we perceive entities, we perceive things, right? And then we use our our percepts plus our reason, and then we get concepts, and that helps us better understand the world.
And then you start to develop a more defined structure. Our perception of the world around us is a construct of the mind.
No. Okay, here we go. It came out finally. She says, basically, consciousness is the primary factor. Consciousness is primary, not existence, meaning consciousness creates reality. But this is completely backwards, of course. It is the reality that is existing. Reality is real and existence exists. That which is, right? This is the primary. It is not that we are conscious first, and it doesn't even make sense to be conscious of nothing. Consciousness always has to be conscious of something, of course. This is basically just Plato. Plato and his idea of the forms, and then brought into Kant and such. But we'll continue.
It's an illusion in the sense that it's created by the mind, but there are things that actually exist out there in the world.
Okay, so it's an illusion that it's created by mind, but there are things that actually exist out there in the world. how do you get past this contradiction? It's either it exists or it's created by the mind. It can't be both, right? A is A. A is not both A and B. That's what she's saying. So our mind creates it, but it also exists. Both of these can't be true.
But we're just not actually seeing all of it.
There comes Kant here, or Plato even, right? The allegory of the cave. Most people are just chained and watching shadows of real objects projected onto the wall, and they think that that is real. But yeah, there is the true reality, but it's not knowable to you. Same as Kant's noumenal world. The noumenal world is the true reality that is completely unknowable to us. But we have the phenomenal where we perceive things anyway, and let's just talk about that. But this just attacks the fundamental nature of what we are as the rational animal. We are perceiving things. We are conscious. We do have ideas. It is not fake. It is not an illusion. Of course, she can't believe this because she wouldn't be trying to prove things and scientifically analyze things if she thought it was just her constructing it. It is the axiom that existence exists and A is A. These things, and that our perceptions are valid. They give us direct information about reality. Again, we can be skewed a little bit by psychology. We can also be helped by it, but these things are not the same.
So if you think of attention, it's like a spotlight. And so you can focus that spotlight anywhere in the visual field, let's say, or even auditorily, right? You can think of a cocktail party. You can tune in to some conversation over there and not be listening to what's right in front of you. So things could be happening right in front of your face, but if your spotlight of attention is not there, your brain might be processing it in some way, but you're not consciously aware of it.
So yeah, she's talking about focus. We focus on some things, and as we focus on something, we block out other things. That is correct. That does not prove that our perceptions are invalid. Again, it's like saying that either we perceive everything or everything is an illusion. No, I'm not arguing for infinite consciousness, infinite awareness, limitless understanding. We don't need that in order to have understanding of specific things, to identify specific things, and that our identification corresponds directly to reality.
You become aware of it when it becomes important. There's this.
Okay. I mean, yeah, this is, of course, you become aware of things when they become important. Yes. Okay. Correct. Let's continue.
It's constant interplay between things that our brain processes unconsciously that informs our behavior. So what you're conscious of at any moment can affect what you perceive.
Okay, so this is just confusing language, but basically what it's saying is our psychology can affect our ideas, right? Which is for sure true. It doesn't affect the sense data, right? The sense data that we bring in is the direct data from reality. But yeah, our psychology and our focus are not negating the fact that we perceive reality.
And what you remember as well. So if you're in
memory is very important. Without memory, we would just be animals essentially, even though some animals have it, but we need memory and we need language in order to have ideas, right? So we can communicate about the past and the future. Without memory and without language, we would just be living in the moment.
In a negative headspace, you're going to start perceiving more negative things in your environment. If you're in a positive headspace, you're going to perceive more positive things, even though the environment may be exactly the same.
Yeah, this is our psychology, right? Our feelings, our subconscious, and how it affects, how we feel. Yes, but this is not the same thing as perception or conception or reality.
You can choose where you attend to internally. You can choose to attend to positive thoughts and have them grow within you rather than focusing your attention on negative thoughts. So being mindful is your brain controlling what you're attending to and also controlling what you're taking in.
Yeah, this is awareness. This is awareness of your own psychology, of your own tendencies, of your own biases, right? Like what do you care about? Yeah. And I would argue that you shouldn't focus on positive or negative. You should focus on being realistic. Optimism and pessimism are both a bit of distortions, right? Because things are what they are. They don't have to be better than what they are or worse than what they are. They just A is A. Be realistic as best you can. It's difficult. Nobody's perfect, but the process of learning is the best we can do.
And how you're reacting to the world. In general, there's so much information coming at our brains throughout the day. If we had to consciously process all of it, it would be overwhelming.
I mean, we do consciously, we process all of it. How much we focus on and how much we're aware of is another thing. And overwhelming, again, is an emotion. It's not a fact, right? If something is too much for us to handle, some people can handle a lot more than others, for instance. Again, it's conflation between psychology and perception.
It's easier to sort of categorize things. It's easier to perceive things, not just at a basic level, but it scales up to these higher cognitive levels.
It's called induction, right? From the particular to the general. And this is the basis of concept formation. And what are concepts? Well, they are, yes, they are groupings. We perceive entities, like I perceive a person, I see another person, and I see another person. I see other people that I haven't even ever met, and I group them all into a class or a concept of a human. And yes, it makes it, this is necessary for us to live in reality. We can't like see a new human that we've never seen and like, what is that, right? Our conceptions group things by similarity or by all the other things being differentiated from the class of things. So yeah, this is called concepts. Yeah, it's a necessary part of our epistemology.
To belief systems. And so we develop these schemas. But the problem is that even though on average something might be true, it doesn't mean that it's true for every case.
Okay, the schemas, the belief systems. Okay, I don't know exactly what she's going with here. Like a concept is not a belief system. A concept is not a strategy, right? We can have strategies of things, but this is not a concept. This is more of like a mental model that we think about that can work most of the time. We also have the concept of probability, that this can work often, but not all the time, or so on and so forth. So these are not to discount our perceptions and our concepts.
Let's say a bias is that women were homemakers and the men were more in the workplace.
Okay, well, this is just confusing the metaphysical and the man-made. Okay, we were talking about perceiving reality and objects and things, and now she's talking about biases about cultural gender roles, right? Cultural gender roles are completely man-made in the sense that they don't exist independent of our human existence, right? Anything that is man-made can be changed. Not that it always should be changed, but in the case of gender roles, it's clear that men and women can do the same jobs, essentially. They can do pretty much everything the same. I mean, the similarities are much larger than the small differences. But don't conflate cultural gender roles and the biases we have towards them with our perceptions not corresponding to reality, because these are completely different things.
If they saw a picture of a man and a woman, and you'd say, okay, which one is working in the office? People would more likely say the man because prior expectations.
Yeah, because of, just bad ideas, you could say here. Yeah, and how do we get rid of bad ideas? Well, we analyze them using our reason, and we improve. This is what being a human is. We improve all the time. Progress, we can do it.
So there's this balance between having a schema that helps us perceive things in the world or expectations.
So when she says schema, it's like, yeah, she's using it from a primacy of consciousness starting point, that we have this schema, which is just sort of a mental construct, but really what she means is a concept. A concept is a grouping of things that are a part of the same class, that share the same characteristics. Yeah, but she's conflating concepts and strategies and psychology and perception, and conflating a lot of things, and it makes it very confusing. Let's continue.
And then also not making these over assumptions. And so cognitive biases can be adaptive up to a certain point. So if you change the inputs enough over time, you change those unconscious biases.
No, it's not changing the inputs. I mean, the inputs are the same. We got to change our understanding, our ideas, the inputs, our perceptions, that we get information from reality. But this information from reality doesn't have any value to it, in the sense that there is a tree outside my window. I promise you guys, there's a tree outside my window. Now, if I call that beautiful or if I call that ugly, well, that is a value judgment, and that is not something that has anything to do with the tree itself. So the value judgment that I give is my subjectivity, right? My personality. And this is part of the man-made. This is not to be confused with the metaphysical, that which is, what she is confusing the metaphysical and the man-made this whole time.
I notice a lot of like commercials for laundry detergent and stuff. It's like the man at home doing the housework, which I love, because that is reprogramming the brain to kind of counteract those biases.
This is just secondhandedness completely, right? Yeah, I mean, okay, all you need to know is that men and women can both do laundry equally, and nobody is more suited to it because of their genitalia. I did not figure this out because of commercials. I figured this out because of rationality. Let's continue.
If we can figure out ways to either expand this box that we're living within, we are better able to connect with other perspectives.
Okay, so yeah, we need to expand the prison we're living in. So it's maybe other people are in the prison and we get a sort of a collective consciousness. Nope, that's not the way it is, right? It's not about expanding your perception. It is about improving your concepts, improving your ideas, using your reason and your rationality. And you can do it. There is nothing stopping you, I promise.
The more you can understand, and also knowing that you live within a certain kind of perceptual box, can create potentially the impetus for you to develop or try to work on developing more empathy for others who are living inside their own perception boxes.
Okay, we were talking about perception and psychology and reality, and now we're talking about empathy, as if it's all connected. Well, this is, again, a concept that individuals are individuals, right? And every individual has an individual experience. Just this understanding that everybody is doing their own thing and going through their own life, just requires empathy. Like, you understand that these people are going through things that you don't know, but they can describe them to you, and you can feel the human experience with them. It has nothing to do with being in a box, boxed in outside of sort of a connected reality, right? Where our minds are not prisons. Our minds are toolkits in a way, or rather, our conceptions are our toolkits. Our mind are just simply the camera, right? We got the camera, not just the camera, the most advanced camera, the sensing organism, whatever you want to call that, right? Our perception, it is of reality that everybody else is living in as well.
We're all work in progress until our very last breath, and there's always room for change. Nothing is set in stone. I've had people come to therapy.
Okay, there's always room for change. Yeah, of course. Nothing is set in stone. It depends on what she means by that. Like if you take that statement just on its own, nothing is set in stone. Like nothing is what it is. Perhaps nothing is certain. Like, well, what if I said nothing is certain? What about that statement? Right? Is the statement that nothing is certain, is that a certainty? Yeah, it's a little bit of vagueness, so it's tough to say. But now she's talking about therapy and connecting this somehow to epistemology. Psychology and epistemology are separate ideas, right? I don't think she really understands that.
In their 70s for the first time because they say, I've been depressed my whole life and I don't want to die without having experienced joy and happiness.
Okay, but if you think you live in a prison, that will definitely prevent you from experiencing joy and happiness, right? And so that would be the first psychological advice I give to anybody. You're not living in a prison. Your mind is not a prison. Your mind is your means of understanding the world. Don't try to destroy it. It is everything you got, and it's enough as well.
If you change your perspective, it changes how you experience the world. And life is full of pain. That's part of the journey. But being able to contextualize that and weave it into your life narrative is something we can all do. So knowing that our perception is an illusion, our sense of self is illusion.
Well, you see this. It's like, yeah, if we can understand other people's experiences, we can weave it into our understanding, but just know that all your understanding is an illusion. Yourself is an illusion. You see how this just gets thrown in, equivocated and conflated and ruined. No, reality is not an illusion. You exist. A is A. You are you. It is not an illusion. If you believe these things, that everything is illusion, including yourself, including reality, then you will have negative thoughts. So it's not about expanding your illusion. It is about accepting reality. It's so much simpler that way.
All of it is an illusion in the sense that it's a construct of our brain. Our brain.
No. Okay, we're done with this. This is horrible. These things, yeah, they just attack everything that makes us us, right? It is not an illusion. Consciousness is not primary. You have the power to actually understand reality. You have the power to understand other people's experiences. There is no box. There is no prison. It's all good. I'm going to end it right here. I've said enough. I hope you think I was thinking all right. If I wasn't, let me know, and I'll see you in the next one.